example just to sort of, sometimes I think tonally it helps to describe a little bit better the form. That's where, and in some ways that's what my goal for you guys is, that I want you to be able to learn to study the shapes and the forms so that however you render it, whether it's in charcoal, whether it's in crayon or Play-Doh or whatever, it doesn't even matter, that you're confident in what you're doing. You understand what you're seeing. It makes sense to you. So I'm just going to do a quick, let's see, under the shape really quick because I really want to focus on the legs. And that. Okay. So I'm just going to take a little bit of light, start erasing out my light, but I'm also following down the quadriceps. You can kind of see as I start to carve out what are the shapes that I'm actually deciding. Here is the top of the knee. Woo. Here is that. Here is the side of the knee as it kind of follows up. And so as you create and you draw, whether it's from a photograph or whether it's just in life, as you go along, you know, you can start listing off, think about what it is, be like, now I'm drawing this, now I'm drawing this, like, you know, you can start to, and also study the names. You know, the more you can learn the Latin names, that's universal. You know, they're Latin for a reason, so that any language and any person can, and any scientist could be able to communicate and understand immediately, know, okay, yeah, I know what you're talking about. And that's, I think too, as I'm going through this, I'm realizing I want you guys to also see this. We're not just about being artists, you know, this is, the idea is of being a scientist, of being observant and paying attention to what we're seeing. And that's what Da Vinci was. He was a scientist. He really, who used his science knowledge to apply to his art. And so I think, you know, if you can see it like that and sort of remove the judgment, remove the concept that if I don't do it just right, if it doesn't look just perfect like a human being, it doesn't count. I think it's about observing it and really sort of slowing down and be the scientist, really like question, why does it look like that? Why is it that shape? You know, really get excited about it. And that's, and then documentation, it's field notes, right? Most scientists, they don't really worry whether or not it's perfect or if people like it. They're out there trying to document, they're trying to observe what they're seeing. And especially back in the day, they didn't have cameras and they didn't have video, you know, they didn't have iPads to record and drones and all these other sort of technological things, you know. And so I think in some ways it's like we should revert back to that idea of rendering based on what we're seeing and just being present with the sketchbook and present with the subject, right? And having it almost be more meditational, not so judgmental and thinking that, am I doing this right? It's more of like, this is fun. I am really enjoying seeing these shapes. And it's like, how is this shape being expressed? And how is this shape being expressed? And you know what I mean? I think that it's not, we need to let go of our feelings of inadequacy and thinking that if I don't do it a certain way, it's just like, well, you know, it's just not working. And then you beat ourselves up, we get so mad. I think this is not the time for that. So kind of, as you can see, I've been slowly just erasing. It still doesn't make a lot of sense. I'm now going to take my charcoal just to kind of like then create like contrast. So let's see. Let's see, and then we can do some knee. It's definitely difficult, of course, doing figure drawing when it's anatomical as well on top of that, because your brain's just like, why don't they have skin? It's like, I don't get it. But that's okay. We'll push through. So I think in some ways too, that's fun, is that, you know, drawing things that don't make sense at first, you know, creating a little bit of confusion. And so you have to kind of investigate, right? And start to look a little bit deeper into what we're observing and paying attention to that. So here, I'm kind of trying to follow the knee. Let's see, I'll follow the quadricep as it flows up. There we go. We got this guy that comes over. Knee tucks there. We got this. Got the obliques. Sit and sort of go on top. The form. That. Long shapes. And then the calf pops out. You can talk to your little head. So I'm always like, okay, knee, what do you need? All right, what's this? And, you know, I think it's about having fun, be lighthearted, be silly, like be playful. Like it doesn't have to be so like, I'm drawing a person right now and it's got to be so serious. Like it doesn't need to be, it's not necessary to have it be so uptight. Like we can be a little bit fun with it. You can, you know, while you're still learning and while you're exploring and understanding these shapes, you can still like be playful with it and be looser. It doesn't have to be so uptight or precise. I mean, it's a great idea. I definitely recommend having a moment to, you know, copy all of these things out of anatomy books. This is why it's comfortable for me, is because I've literally spent and copied an entire notebook full of anatomy from the Human Anatomy for Artists book. Just literally sit down with it, sit down and just start, you know, pick a page and copy the page, see how far you can get, how much. And as you do that, you start to learn the nuances of the bones and the structures itself, and understanding the way, the behaviors of the muscles and just the interrelationships. And so it gives you a deeper understanding of why things are the way that they are. And so just, it's, here we go. As you can kind of, it's getting a little bit crazy. But I'm trying to sort of show you, it is definitely a challenge with an anatomical sort of almost cadaver sort of thing, but you can still see that I'm trying to lay in, there's a lot of these structures that then if we were to add in skin on top of that, how would that be expressed? You know, you can make it be much more subtle depending on the body fat percentage, or, you know, just all of these other things that can be then adjusted. But I just want you to see the flow of the quadricep muscles. There you go, the quadriceps. And then there you go. This flow that's happening, this going over, that sort of goes over, and then these muscles that sort of tuck underneath, like in and underneath, and they help to pull our legs close and open, and that lifting, that splaying. And then there's the quadriceps that help to lift up and back. And all of these muscles, they sort of work in tandem. It's this incredible machine. If you think about it, nothing is independent. The only bone in our bodies that is not attached to another bone or ligament, the only free floating bone is the hyoid bone in our throats, our Adam's apple. It's the only one that isn't really like attached. Everything else has an attachment and a connection. And that's why, like the knee and the patella, they're all sort of connected. And so if you think about that, it's nothing is like in a vacuum. Our human body is completely in a machine that's designed to stand upright. It's designed to, you know, to locomotion is for us to move. We're literally designed to be able to run and to hunt and to climb things and push and, you know, and swim and all of these sort of shapes. There, I'm trying to, like, oh, what's this? So you could see, I mean, I could go further. We could kind of keep going. Oh, darkness. I definitely recommend these anatomical. I mean, it's kind of creepy, but I mean, after a while, you kind of get used to it. My son, who's almost 4, he's gotten used to it. He takes the pieces now and he says, "Sorry, sir, I took your head," and then he walks away. But they're great, actually, because next class I'll have to find the arms. He took them somewhere. They're somewhere. But it's fantastic is that you can actually take apart the pieces, look at it. And what's great is they literally remove large muscle groups so that you can see what's happening underneath. You can really see the flow forms as it goes from one point to another, and why. See how it's like this muscle tucks in and underneath, behind, like in between the quadricep and the hamstring. And the hamstrings, this will lead to the back. Kind of flip the page. Let's do a quick tonal study of the back. That's also a unique shape and fun practice. It's a tough one. The back of the leg is not as easy as you would imagine it to be. There's a lot that's kind of happening here. There's this sort of looping of the calf muscles that kind of come out, and there's this like whoop teardrop shape, and then like whoop teardrop. It's like the calf that then goes down to the Achilles tendon, and then here's like the heel, and then the ankles up here, the upper ankle, the inner ankle, then the outer ankle. But if we're doing just viewed from the back, and that's sort of this general flow shape, these sort of teardrop shapes that then flow up and go up into the knee, and they connect up, and that's when we get this sort of H shape. It's actually the quadriceps or the hamstrings wrapping around the knee from the back and the side, and they're doing that, and they're wrapping, and then we've got these the calf muscles running up and tucking up underneath too, and wrapping around the side. And so there's this creates almost like this like muscle cavity, this almost like diamond shape right in here. You can kind of see it creates this like diamond, this diamond shape. And then that diamond shape almost viewed when, say we're drawing like a person when they actually have skin, it would almost be represented like an H. You almost kind of see it like an H shape. Let's see. So it's just as an example, like you'll kind of see that form, and it's definitely subtle, but it's there, and it will be sort of a cavity. And then also, yeah, the calf, it's got those like teardrop shapes and the sort of slightly this sloping again as we go. It's not straight line, it's a sloping down and in. It's a spring that's going down that connects to the heel, and that heel bone, that the Achilles tendon is also holding everything together, and it's holding onto your feet to allow you to lift your toes, to actually allow you, the Achilles tendon allows you to lift and to roll your feet. So that's why, like Achilles, when once his tendon was cut, he couldn't run. So, you know, that's why you can't move. It's incredibly important. That's where a lot of these names too, a lot of our names come from Greek gods and goddesses and Roman. I mean, a lot of this stuff is, you know, in Latin. And so a lot of our names come from really sort of unique and sort of silly, like mythology. And so there is that, like, you know, like, why was it called Achilles tendon? Why is it called this? Or, you know, exactly, it was a Greek hero. And so that in itself, it's like those become common in our usage and our description of the human form. We start to become part of the, like, part of our regular words that we use whenever. So let's see, I'm sorry, as I'm looking at my notes, I'm like, okay, what else do we have? So I just want to show, yeah, the feet, we got the legs here, that lateral. So I mean, these are my, again, these are all like my little notes, and it's all in like Latin names, but you can see again that triangle shape. I wanted to just show you that this is the back of the knee, and as they tuck in, and that creates this sort of unique diamond shape. And you can even feel it, like feeling the back of your knee. Like, use your own body as an example. Go and look at it in a mirror. If you have a full-length mirror, stand and look. You know, have someone else stand there and have them move their leg in different ways, and observe the way that the muscles adjust and change. Because it's going to help you. There's definitely a lot more that, you know, are going to be, if you can view it from a real live human being as opposed to this still not a live person. Let's see, I want to show you how things, biceps femoris. Oh, okay, so I'm just trying to like muscles. So the way that the there we go, the quadriceps connect, that's kind of interesting, is that they actually go over the femur, and then we were showing, like I was showing before, they actually wrap around and connect. They don't even really touch the femur, which is kind of amazing. Oh, sorry, this is the sartorius muscle. Sartorius muscle runs from the top of, let's see if they even show it. Oh yeah, they kind of do. They kind of do. This is this guy. It is this guy. It runs from the top of our pelvis, and it goes all the way down, and it travels and goes all the way down into here, and it attaches to the leg, the lower leg. And so it doesn't, there's some muscles, again, that don't even touch, they're on top of, and their whole experience is on this femur, and yet it doesn't even attach to it. And so there's going to be bones and muscles I will go through next week too. It's like the bicep isn't even connected to this arm bone at all. Like, there's things where it's just like, it doesn't make sense at first. You're like, why? Like, why would it be that you think it would? And it's actually, it's attaching. These are things, again, it's these rubber bands in a sense that are attaching to our pelvis and then attaching to the lower leg to sort of hold all of this in, kind of keep it all steady and tight, and allow the form, the biomechanics, so that things don't splay off to the side, so that when we land and we're collecting with the ground, that impact doesn't affect the knee. It doesn't make the knee shoot side to side. It actually holds everything in place, and it sort of keeps everything tight. And it's an incredible, I mean, it's an incredible spring. I mean, the more that you study and the more that you look at the arrangement of these bones and muscles, the more you go, wow, like, who designed this? This is incredible. And it's just, it's through evolution over time that the body's just developed the adaptations for humans to have this. I mean, all the muscle groups, like I was saying, generally speaking, and bone groups, for most endoskeletons, we all have that same template. And so it's just altered. And so for humans, as we've developed being able to walk upright, these bones have, and these muscles have adapted to allow us to be able to run and to stand and to lean forward and bend down and pick things up and stand and reach and turn and do all these things that you know, wouldn't allow us to do that if we were a quadruped and just stuck on 4 legs. So let's see. Oh, okay, you know what, let me do, when we're bending the leg too, here, let me start with a fresh page because it gets kind of confusing. When we bend the leg, drawn from the side, so say we're like drawing someone's knee and there's their leg, they're bending their leg. You want to, there's this idea of the forward and backward lines. So let's see, here's the knee, here's the calf, kind of, it's a strange leg. But this shape, basically, you want to think about that the thigh muscle, the thigh form, in a sense, is always going to sort of go over the lower leg. And so when you bend the leg, whether it's in the interior or exterior, you're going to always see this, what is the muscle? Or actually, where is it? Let's see. I think it is the, I know there's so many. Is it the sartorius? Could be the brachial radius. No, I think it's tensor fasciae latae, which one of the, basically these two keep it, these ligaments that hold everything together, that when it's bent from the side, they're always going to be overlapping the lower leg. And so that's a line, this line right here, it's hard to see. This line right here, when it bends, it creates that line. And even in the inside of the leg too, it's that same thing. It's gonna, when they bend, the upper leg is always going to be in front of and over, in a sense, the lower leg. So whenever they're bending your leg, then here's like, this is just a very silent, but here's like the knee, and then the shin, and here's like their ankle or whatever. But that leg, whether it's inside or outside of the leg, this line, there's always gonna be this inside line. It will never be like this. Right away, you're just kind of like, what? Your brain almost wants to make it into an arm. It's not funny, but again, that same idea of the flow of the line. And I'll talk about that too, of the brachioradialis and all of the arm stuff. But that, these are sort of notes in a sense of that as you're drawing, why is it that shape? And it's because of those tendons that are underlying, that are actually holding and bracing your knee. And that cupping of the knee, in a sense, is what creates that overlapping shape on the lower leg. And that lower leg is sort of what's dominant and what's more recessive, or what's more like receding backward and what's more prominent and forward, and that sort of concept.